All right, 7, 8, and 9 are product to sum and sum to product identities. Again, either if you go to the LX notes and bring up their formulas under the resources, you can go to the dictionary, type into product to sum or sum to product. It's going to give you the different identities. We have two different sets. These ones are the products to sum, so if I have sine of u, cosine of v equals 1/2 sine of u plus v plus sine of u minus v, and so forth. And then if you go down a little ways, you'll have the ones where you go from sum to product. So the sine of x plus y equals 2 sine of x plus y over 2, cosine of x minus y over 2. Excuse me. So again, keep your notes handy, or the resources off of Alex with those formulas on there, your identities. I'm not going to switch back and forth because it erases the board, so I'll just look at my notes here as we go. So first one back over here. Oh, other thing we're probably going to need is, nope, I don't have them on these note sheets, the table where you have what's the cosine of all your regular angles and what's your sine of your regular angles. We've used them a lot already. And so your sheet here that has your angles and the sine, cosine, we won't need the tangent and whatever, but we'll need the sine and cosine of your reference angles. So you'll want to have that sheet handy also. So, back to our homework page. We're going to do the sine of 37.5 times the sine of 7.5. So I'm doing the sine times the sine. If I look at my formula, it is -1/2, and then I'm going to have the cosine of a plus b, so I'm going to take my 37.5 plus my 7.5, and then I'm going to have minus the cosine of a minus b, 37.5 minus 7.5. So I have -1/2 the cosine of, if I add 37.5 and 7.5, I get 45, minus the cosine of 37.5 minus 7.5 would be the cosine of 30. So looking up on my chart, cosine of 45 degrees is square root of 2 over 2. Cosine of 30 degrees is square root of 3 over 2. And I have to multiply that by -1/2. And so I'm going to have -1/2 times square root of 2 minus square root of 3 all over 2. Sneaking that in there. And then when I multiply that out, just going to put a 4 on the bottom. The negative is going to be out in front of your fraction there. Or I can distribute it, so if I have negative square root of 2 plus the square root of 3 over 4, that looks a little weird in that order. Square root of 3 minus the square root of 2 over 4 also would be a better way to write your answer instead of putting the negative in front of, or in the front. And so either way should be correct as long as you make sure you get the negative on the top of the fraction with the 2 and not out in front of the whole entire fraction. The sine of 105 minus the sine of 15. So here we're doing the sine minus the sine. We're looking at the second group of formulas we have, where we change it to a product. So it's going to be 2 cosine of 105 plus 15 over 2. And then we have the sine of 105 minus 15 over 2. So if I add 105 and 15, I would get 120 over 2, which is 60. If I do 105 minus 15, I get 90 over 2, which is 45. So I have 2 times the cosine of 60 times the sine of 45. I'm just going to write it over here. The cosine of 60, if I look that up on my reference paper, cosine of 60 is 1/2. The sine of 45 is square root of 2 over 2. And so if I multiply that out, those are going to cancel. I'm just going to end up with the square root of 2 over 2 for my answer in simplified form. So just a matter of plugging them into your formulas, looking up your reference angles, and simplifying from there. The next one, we have sine of 52.5, cosine of 7.5. So you want to look for your formula where you take the sine times the cosine. If I look that up, I'm going to have 1/2 sine of 52.5 plus 7.5. And then I'm going to have plus the sine of 52.5 minus 7.5. So 1/2, 52.5 plus 7.5 would be 60. And then 52.5 minus 7.5 would be 45. So 1/2, the sine of 60, if I look that up, is the square root of 3 over 2. The sine of 45 is the square root of 2 over 2. So I have 1/2 times square root of 3 plus square root of 2 over 2. Multiplying that out, then I end up with square root of 3 plus square root of 2 over 4. Didn't have the negative on that one to worry about. Second part of that, we're taking the cosine plus the cosine. So if you look at your sum formulas for cosine plus cosine, tells us we're going to do the 2 times the cosine of 75 plus 15 times the cosine, oops, over 2, I better put that in there, cosine of 75 minus 15 over 2. All those have that over 2. So 75 plus 15 would give me 90. 75 minus 15 is going to give me 60. So I'm going to have 2 times the cosine of 90 divided by 2 is 45. 60 divided by 2 is 30. Again, I'm going to move over here. Cosine of 45, square root of 2 over 2. Both the sine and the cosine of 45 are square root of 2 over 2. If you remember that one. And then the cosine of 30, excuse me, cosine of 30 is square root of 3 over 2. On this one pair of 2's cancel out. Square root of 2 times the square root of 3 is square root of 6 over 2. I can't simplify that any further since this is under a square root and that is not. So be careful when you type that in. Hit the fraction button first. Type the square root of 6 on top and the 2 underneath. If you hit the square root button first, it'll put the whole fraction underneath your square root sign, and you don't want the entire fraction under the square root. You just want the 6 under the square root. And number 9 will be the same kind of thing once I get over there. This one they have in radian measures, but that's okay. I don't like radian measures, but we can work with those. Cosine times the cosine. So you want to look up the formula when you have cosine times the cosine. Tells us we're going to have 1/2 cosine of 7 pi over 24 plus pi over 24. And then we're going to have plus the cosine of 7 pi over 24 minus pi over 24. So 1/2 the cosine, this would give me 8 pi over 24. 8 24ths would be 1/3, so pi over 3. This would be 6 pi over 24. 6 over 24 would be 1/4, so pi over 4. And so we're going to look up the cosine of pi over 3. Cosine of pi over 3 is 1/2. And the cosine of pi over 4. Cosine of pi over 4 is square root of 2 over 2. Supposed to be a plus sign in there. I knew something didn't look right. So I'm going to have 1/2 times cosine of pi over 3 is 1/2 plus the cosine of pi over 4, which is square root of 2 over 2. So I'm going to have 1/2 times 1 plus square root of 2 over 2. Multiplying that out, we get 1 plus square root of 2 over 4, and that's going to be our answer. And the second part of that, we have a sine plus a sine. So if I look up my formula, I'm going to have 2 sine of 5 pi over 12 plus pi over 12, all divided by 2, and then cosine of 5 pi over 12 minus pi over 12, again divided by 2. So radian measures, we got to mess with those fractions in there. So 5/12 plus 1/12 would be 6/12, or 6 pi over 12. Since it's divided by 2, I can multiply by the reciprocal. So I would get 6 over 24. 6 over 24 reduces down to pi over 4. So 2 sine of pi over 4. Here I would do 5/12 minus 1/12, which is 4/12. Again, multiplying by 1/2 gives me 4 over 24. And that reduces down to pi over 6. So I have 2 sine of pi over 4, cosine of pi over 6. Looking up my reference angles, the sine of pi over 4 is square root of 2 over 2. And the cosine of pi over 6 is square root of 3 over 2. That cancels that out. Square root of 2 times the square root of 3 would be the square root of 6 over 2. And again, I can't simplify that. That's just going to be my answer.